It's about 30 minutes north of there, and then directly west of there is Satellite County. The gentleman there in the plaid shirt, distributor, he's been going to almost all the planning commission.
I just didn't know why that particular community.
Well, he's probably just saying he needs to do something.
Oh, got it, okay.
Plymouth Township Planning Commission meeting will come to order at 7 p.m. And if the secretary, please call roll, or acting secretary, whoever's going to do
I
it.
can. Chairperson Cebulski?
Here,
Commissioner Barberina? Here. Commissioner Grieger? Here. Treasurer Dorshevitz?
here,
Commissioner Barry?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here,
And Commissioner Ledowek?
thank you. And we need a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda. We have no changes to it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to approve the agenda for this evening as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the minutes of November 1st. Are there any changes? Go on.
I was just going to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a move that, try over. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Planning Commission proposed minutes for November 1st as submitted.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina, supported by Commissioner Dorshevitz to approve the November 1st minutes as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairperson, I want to abstain, please, because I was absent at that meeting.
Okay. And the minutes of November 15th. I did submit some changes and, via email, but those. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll just tell the commission what we're doing. So, on application 2504, which had to do with the, let me make sure. Had to do with the development at St. John's. So I'll tell you, the commission, and I've added requests, in another addition, township attorney to investigate if the developer for PC 2504 could be required to add a sidewalk on property that they did not own. So it just said that we would research it, and it was sort of nebulous. And then another one, another addition, and that had to do with the special land use. It just said master plan was inconsistent with the master plan. And I'm suggesting that we put in 2015 because, we sort of go back and forth with the master plan date. So 2015 is the official approved one. So with those changes, does anyone have anything else? Is there a motion to approve as amended?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the November 15th minutes as amended.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Grieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to the commission on non-agenda items? You have 3 minutes. Okay?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Dale Bernhardt, and I gave you all a handout, and this is just purely a suggestion. We have a little cottage up on Lake Huron by Port Huron. It's a very small township, and what they did, they're redoing their master plan also for 2025. and they sent out their tax statements, and they put that in the tax statement. So everybody that owns property, that got a tax statement, gets that survey. And it was very convenient for me. I opened it up, I got right on my computer, and I filled out the survey. So I thought that was maybe a good suggestion for us to maybe get more respondents. I asked McKenna, how many respondents did we get from your survey?
I do not recall, as it was conducted in 2020 when the master plan was launched. I believe it was close to 900 at that time, something like that.
900, and that's out of, what, 28,000 in the township then?
I don't remember how many it was.
Yeah, I
but
think
can look
that's
it up.
what the number is. Okay. Well, thank you again. That was just suggestion. The other thing, last night, I went to a presentation by I guess they're a company that goes around to cities and municipalities and helps them create a more livable environment, a place that people want to live, work, enjoy the community, and so on. And they gave really glowing reviews for Plymouth and the surrounding area. But number 2 on their list of what the municipality should be working toward was quality of life. And I went down on 5 Mile Ridge Road, and I'm looking at the warehouses and trying to envision the number of trucks that are going to be coming out of there in phase 1 on Ridge Road. Then there's going to be phase 2, then there's going to be Napier and possibly the racetrack across the road, and you've got NEL, and you've got all the companies on 5 Mile. I really urge us to take a look at the area of Ridge Road that goes over top of M14. There's got to be a way to create access, ingress and egress, and not use, I think, 5 Mile, you've got slated, Halyard is slated, Ridge Road. Those are just going to be a tremendous mess in the years to come because everybody's trying to get to Beck Road and the expressway. So I don't know how much you've been able to contact Wayne County or MDOT, but I urge you to please keep after them because there is vacant property there to put ingress, egress, and it would just alleviate so much of the problems. And that goes back to quality of life. Believe me, with all that traffic, it does not create good quality of life for people traveling on those roads, but also living close to those roads. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is Kickstart Toddler Soccer Special Land Use. And Ms. Wolf, if you read the report.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is application number 2505, special land use request for 14556 Gibb Street. The applicant requests a special land use approval for a multi-use indoor sports facility to occupy an existing vacant industrial building at 14556 Gibb Street, located within the Metro West Industrial Park. The existing building is currently unoccupied and situated on 0.76 acres. The site is zoned IND, Industrial District, where indoor recreational facilities are a special land use and require a public hearing, which is the purpose of today's meeting. So we have evaluated this request against the required criteria for a special land use and offer the general comments to you. For criteria number 1, which regards the location, size, and character of the use, we found that the proposed indoor recreational facility is appropriate in terms of the intensity and scale of the area. This is particularly due to the fact that the adjacent properties are industrial uses, consisting of National Steel City and Litho Services to the north, Frito-Lay and Aviciis North America Tech Center to the east, Diamond Tool Manufacturing and Accurate Tape and Label to the south, and the SEMA Garage and Titanium Industries to the west. Within the industrial park, there is a similar indoor recreational facility called the Ninja's Edge, which is approved previously on Helm Street. So the conditions facing this use and whether it's appropriate in the neighborhood are similar to the ones that were faced by Ninja's Edge. Consideration as well is whether the use is consistent with the master plan, will have impacts on the natural features of the site, and will be appropriate with the intent of the zoning district in which it's located. So first, the site is designated as light industrial on the 2015 future land use map, and the proposed use is not in conflict with this designation, given that it is a special land use in the industrial district. Currently, the property and the existing buildings are unoccupied. The applicant proposes no changes to the exterior of the site, and as such, no natural features on the site would be impacted. The building footprint and the site layout will be preserved. The proposed use will not have any impact. And the consideration of the zoning district. The purpose of the industrial district is to accommodate a mixture of industrial, research, wholesale, and service uses of the community in an attractive and functional manner. The indoor recreation facility would not be disruptive, nor should it negatively impact any properties in the surrounding area. The addition of the indoor recreational area is considered an additional service use within the industrial park, similar to how other industrial uses operate an office or service portion of their business. The second criteria is whether the use is designed and located in a way that will be conditioned or suitable for the public health, safety, and welfare. Because the applicant is not actually proposing to change anything about the exterior of the building, we expect that this can be accommodating the proposed use in support of the public health, safety, and welfare. The third criteria is whether it's served by public services. So again, because it's an existing building, it's already served by water, sewer, electric, and all other public services. Criteria 4 is the vehicular circulation will be in the best interest of the public health, safety, and welfare in relationship to the ingress and egress of the site. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the vehicular access which exists today. Vehicular access is provided by a single curb cut along Gibb Street, and the site shares the entrance and its parking lot with the building to the south owned by Diamond Tool Manufacturing. Similarly, criteria number 5 discusses parking and site use. The proposed use is not expected to be hazardous to the surrounding properties or those with which it shares vehicular access. They know that the peak season for indoor recreation is between October and April, so when students are in school, with a 70% reduction during the off-peak season between May and September. During the peak season, a range of 10 to 20 students and 2 to 4 coaches are expected per hour. This will likely generate less traffic than an industrial user and eliminates the concern over any additional truck traffic. And finally, the last criteria is that the proposed site layout is in compliance with the site development standards of the zoning ordinance. So because it is an indoor recreational use, it does have some specific standards which have to be applied to it. The first one is that accessory recreational and sports sales, rentals, services, restaurants and snack bars, and health clubs are permitted as accessory uses, provided they're accessory and not necessary or ancillary an integral part. They do not propose any of these items and as such are in compliance with use standard number 1. Use standard number 2 is that the site shall abut a major thoroughfare. Gibb Street is located off a major thoroughfare with low anticipated traffic volumes, and thus it complies with use standard number 2. Use standard number 3 is that outdoor golf driving ranges, and outdoor skiing are prohibited. The applicant is not providing any of these. It is for indoor soccer. So use standard number 3 we believe is met. And the last use standard is that outdoor recreational training and sports facilities must be screened from adjacent properties and rights of way. Because this facility is completely indoors, there is not a concern with this use standard and it meets use standard number 4. Ultimately, pending any additional information presented during the public hearing, we recommend that the Planning Commission grant special land use approval for the proposed indoor recreation facility at 14556 Gibb Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Yeah, would you come up and?
Good evening, Frank Shadowski, Kickstart Toddler Soccer. Appreciate your consideration for this, requesting the special land use to allow for indoor recreation. We'd love to bring Kickstart Toddler Soccer to Plymouth. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
We always ask for, you're here for special land use, but there's no statement, but you were kind enough to give us the little presentation, the portfolio here, which contains most of this, the information that should be in this use statement.
Sure.
I have a couple of questions on it. Are you going to have games played inside, where the parents come in or members of the public or?
So our program is mostly activity-based, so we don't play any games. We will have small-sided scrimmages, which are kind of go with the activities at the end of activities. They're not organized in any way. They are a way for toddlers to kind of implement what we've been working on in those classes. But yes, parents will be in the facility at all times with their toddlers. Our classes start at 18 months. They go up to 7 years old. So parents are on the field participating at the younger age groups. As they get at 3 years old and up, they're kind of to the side with just the coaches on their own.
So you do provide us with the information on how many students per hour would be there and the number of coaches, just making sure.
Yeah, we're expecting about, at the peak, 20 students per hour. We will have 2 fields set up with 10 on each field, and then 2 to 4 coaches per hour to accommodate those 20 students.
And the parents stay there while the,
They do, yeah.
Okay.
They're required to stay on site while the classes are going on. Some of them, like I said, at the 18-month and 2-year-old ranges, they're required to participate on the field with their toddler. And then 3 and up, they have to stay off-site. I mean, onto the side of the field, yeah.
and there's enough parking?
Yes, it meets the minimum parking requirements for the use change.
Oh, okay. I did look at your Facebook, Facebook,
Yes.
social media website. What was in that building before you acquired it?
So the landlord, our landlord, he's owned the building, I believe, since it got built in, I believe, 1986. And he does restoration repair. So I think he was using it as a storage site to put furniture, equipment in, or, if a restaurant had fire damage, they would use it to store those things until they got it repaired. Then they would, bring it back on site. But that's pretty much all it was used for.
Well, compliments to you, because I did see the before and after pictures of the landscaping, and you did clean up the outside.
Thank you. We appreciate it, yeah. We're really looking forward to it. We're excited about it. It would be we have 8 locations in Metro Detroit. This will be the first one we would be the sole occupant of, and we're really excited to come to Plymouth with it.
Questions from the commission?
You say you have 8 locations you've been operating?
We do,
How
yep.
long have you been operating?
Since 2010, we're in Flint, Fraser, Oxford, Livonia, Sterling Heights, Shelby Township, Warren right now.
So it's been sort of a steady growth?
Yes,
year in, year out?
yeah, we have about 8,500 toddlers that come through our program every year. This probably will be our biggest site once we get it up and running. And really, this is an area that we've been looking for a long time to be put on our map.
How many square feet is this site?
It's a 9,000 square foot building.
Big building.
I have a question regarding, it says here that you'll also sublease this space to other local sports organizations.
Yeah, yes.
Will the parking requirement meet whatever you have in mind for that?
Yeah, so we'll still be looking at the same numbers, which would be 20 students per 2 to 4 coaches. So we'll not be using it in conjunction with those rentals. We would have our time to use it, and then on the off-peak times when other organizations feel like they could use turf time to train, it would remain the same use. So there would be no additional parking, needed.
Okay, also, you had said that all the students their parents would be there with them up till age 7, but as far as the subleasing, I'm just thinking of parents dropping 10-year-olds off, 14-year-olds off. Do you have some kind of a plan for a drop-off loop?
We can. The way the parking lot is set up, it is set up where we could put a loop in there for drop-off. There is no parking allowed on Jib Street, so we would definitely have to have some type of plan loop there.
Okay, because I don't think we'll see a site plan here for this, right, Ani? No, because they're reoccupying. They're reoccupying, so just something to keep in mind for
Yes.
safety. And then also, if your students are up to age 7,
Yes.
I see your hours of operation are till like 11 p.m. and midnight.
Yeah, so that would just be when we're subleasing the time to some of the players who are older players of soccer organizations. Sometimes they can get up to 14, 15, 16, even high school ages. So I know that there are times on weekends where they do tend to train late.
Like, what percent of the week would you be subleasing, would you say, compared to your regular classes? Is it an anomaly? Is it occasionally, or is it?
I would
going
say, to be honest with you, it'd probably be 60% our use, 40% subleasing it out.
So you must have double, at times you have double the amount of cars there because you have one class that is ending and another class that is starting. So during that transition period, you need twice as much parking, right?
Yeah, we actually stagger our times so that to accommodate for parking, we'll have one field start at the 10 o'clock, the second field start at the 10:30, and we just keep rotating them that way.
And what are some of the sublease uses?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of them will go to soccer clubs that are within the area that do not have access to indoor turf facilities, where they'll be able to take their team and train on turf, and it could be soccer, it could be baseball, any sport that requires turf use. So a lot of times they're looking for those spaces to train. This is a great spot for baseball, lacrosse, mostly soccer. So we do have a lot of relationships with local soccer clubs, and it'll probably mostly be those, but it'll be independent coaches training their teams and/or clubs training specific teams in there.
But that would just be training, correct? No
Correct.
games with
No games.
spectators?
No games, yeah.
Okay.
Other questions? So, Ms. Wolf, I would suggest that, personally, I don't see an issue with it, but I would like to see a statement of use of what we're actually approving. So can we
So it's
give a
indoor
condition?
recreation.
Yeah.
That's the term, yeah.
Yeah, could we have a conditional approval if the commission so desires, and then he would present his statement of use, which is pretty much covered in this.
It says proposed use.
Indoor
Yeah.
recreation.
Well, if you're happy, if the commission's happy with that.
Is that enough?
That's the term used in the zoning ordinance, so I would say from our standpoint, I'm comfortable with just saying indoor recreation, but it's up to you. And also, I do have to mention, we do have to hold the public hearing first.
Pardon?
The public hearing?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, you can do that. No, well, we're going to open the public hearing, and you can come up then. Okay, well, we're going to have the public hearing, and then we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll open the public hearing at 7:21. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? You have a 3-minute time limit.
It'll be certainly quite quick. Just wondering about security. Does the township have any special security requirements? You've got young kids coming and going. Are there locking doors? Are there security cameras? Do
You
you have
direct the question to
a
us.
guard?
Yeah, we'll answer that question.
Oh, you will? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, just a minute, at 7:22. If you would come back up. Are there any security measures that you take place?
Yep, we're gonna have about 10 cameras on site. Doors will auto lock and unlock. We'll have remote access to do that. The lobby would be fully secure with cameras as well.
I bet it's fun watching the 2-year-olds run around.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, love kids, love what we do. It's fun.
But Ms. Wolf, I'm a little confused when you just said you're just happy with having recreational facilities when we've granted other special land uses, and we go into detail.
I just mean the term indoor recreation facility is the one that corresponds to our parking regulations and our use regulations. So that is the term that I believe should be used to describe this. If you would like to, say, place a condition that describes it more, saying an indoor recreation facility that involves indoor turf, yes, or something like that to distinguish it from a swimming pool or something else, that's fine. But from a zoning standpoint, what we need for the legal defensibility of the action is to specifically say indoor recreation facility.
But we still would include the hours of operation and the number of folks and that kind of.
Yeah, the hours of operation is probably a good one, but it's also worth considering, is this a use where you would accept flexible hours of operation if they were to change in the future? So, you only have to impose conditions if you're concerned about those particular items. So in this case, if you aren't really concerned about the hours, then that's not a condition you need to impose.
All right, any other questions? All right, are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant special land use for an indoor recreation facility to PC application 2505, the Kickstart Toddler Soccer, as it meets the 6 criteria listed in the McKenna report, and as listed by the applicant in their submission that we have here. That's mine.
Okay, is there support? Support. Moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Boyd to grant special land use approval for application 2505, Kickstart Toddler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck to you. Thanks for your investment in our community.
You don't have to stay.
Next is the application 2502, the Hillside Overlook, the PUD site development plan. And would you read your report, please?
Thank you, Commissioners. This is application number 2502, which is for the Hillside Overlook Apartments. So it's been a while since this was before you, and we do have some new membership on the commission that wasn't here during the PUD option stage. So I'm going to give a little bit of overview of the project history. So this is for a planned unit development, also known as a PUD, on the site of the former Courthouse Grill at 41661 Plymouth Road. This is for a multifamily apartment building with residential amenities, a parking structure on the ground story, and a surface parking lot. The PUD was originally submitted to the township in October of 2021. The first step was to seek approval for the PUD option, which is the developer requesting the option to have a PUD on a given site after meeting a set of eligibility criteria. The PUD option for the subject project was approved on December 14th, 2024 by the Board of Trustees, and then was subsequently granted a one-year extension in 2022.
Is that correct, 2024?
2022.
I do mean 2021 and then 2022. That is not technically possible. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep, nope, it's good. That's a typo on my part.
Hear from the future.
And the project is now before you seeking the development approval, which is the next step of their process. And there's a little diagram up there for the public, for anyone who's wondering where we are in the PUD process. So whenever the Planning Commission makes a decision on this item, it will then go to the Board of Trustees, which will consider the Planning Commission's recommendation and make a final action on the project. So I'm going to characterize the major differences between the project in 2021 and the project as it's currently proposed. So in 2021, the applicant proposed 120 apartments. That has now been reduced to 111 apartments. Yeah, right there on the next page. Additionally, previously, the applicant had proposed that there be access off of Plymouth Road and then trash pickup occur off Riverside Cemetery Drive. Now, all access is proposed from Plymouth Road. And that is due to the fact that the township does not have jurisdiction over Riverside Cemetery Drive. That is a city-owned road, and the city has denied access off of that road. So that's why the circulation has changed. Additionally, originally proposed in the public benefit was a renewed sidewalk and lawn extension on Plymouth Road, a historic marker, and a dog park. All of those items are maintained with the addition of a memorial bench, and the location of the dog park is changed to be from in front of the building to the side of the building, directly abutting Hines Park. The building orientation has changed. So originally the building was set back from Plymouth Road with parking and lawn in the front, and now the building is located directly along Plymouth Road next to the sidewalk with the parking in the rear. Additionally, the building height has since been reduced from 73 feet to 61 feet 9 inches. Part of that is due to the fact that it used to have 2 stories of parking and now only has 1. and the resident patio on the rooftop has been distributed to now be partly a ground floor amenity and partly on the rooftop. Additionally, at the request of the 35th District Court, the rooftop amenity was shrank and moved to the far west side of the roof to avoid direct visibility into the courthouse. And finally, the applicant had originally proposed 28 trees, a dog park, and the open space out front, and they are now proposing 43 trees, a dog park, and a slightly smaller open space portion. So I'm going to go now into the more detailed portions of the report and highlight the areas that our department identified for improvement in either a revised submission or as a condition of any approval. Could you scroll to page 4? Oh, you're already there. Okay, great. So this gives you an overview of the general program for the development. It's almost identical to the one that was approved in 2021. As we noted, it's slightly lower density now, and the overall area dedicated to parking has increased as the applicant has moved a portion of their parking from being beneath the building to now being a surface lot in the rear. So, per the zoning code, a minimum perimeter yard setback of 25 feet must be provided for a PUD. However, based on factors such as lack of impact on adjacent sites or the particular relationship of the building to the property line, the Planning Commission can reduce the required setbacks provided that the alternative is in accordance with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. The applicant is currently proposing a 10-foot front setback and 14-foot east yard setback. And this is supported by our department's review as well as the conditions of the surrounding area, finding that it would have very little impact on the adjacent industrial and open space properties to the immediate sides of the property, but we also want the Planning Commission's feedback about whether this would be supported. All right, the next underlined passage is at the bottom of page 5. This is fire and truck access. The project proposes a 26-foot fire lane to be provided throughout the site for emergency vehicle access. A garbage truck turning diagram was not included and must be provided in advance of consideration by the Board of Trustees. The dumpster enclosure is also identified on the site plan, but a detail sheet and elevations are missing from the architectural diagrams. A complete dumpster enclosure diagram designed to incorporate a 10-foot concrete access apron, 4-inch depth concrete floor, and 6-foot masonry enclosure and steel reinforced opaque gates must be provided. And those are just, missing. All right, the next one is on the following page. And this is regarding architectural design. This is another discretionary item before the Planning Commission today. So the applicant's architectural design is similar to the one that was originally proposed in 2021, but not identical. So we are recommending that the gray brick that you see on this diagram before you be switched for a red-brown brick veneer, which would harmonize better with the neighboring courthouse and the townhomes, both of which use a brown brick. Furthermore, the window casements on the 4th floor appear to be accidentally offset by 1 foot, and that has to be corrected. If you scroll down just a tiny bit. So right there, you'll also see they did convert the balconies from white to black, which was a suggestion of the commission back in 2021. White balconies are hard to maintain, and there's not really too many other places that have them on that exact corridor. However, each residence has to be served by a balcony totaling 1/10 of the interior unit square footage. They just didn't provide the foot by foot of the balcony, so that has to be provided so we can make sure they meet that 1/10 square footage requirement. All right, next page, please. All right, so per the zoning ordinance, for a PUD, a minimum of 20% of the total land area must be allocated for open space, excluding setback provisions. A total of 17% of the site is devoted to open space, which does not meet this requirement. Furthermore, the site plan counts both the balconies and the lounge as open space. This is expressly prohibited, and the land open space must be calculated separately. As such, we recommend that the site plan be revised to remove some of the surface parking and increase the open space. The commission may modify this standard if warranted due to site constraints. So I just want to explain this a little bit better. The figure that they provided in the site plan accounted for the balconies and the top, open space area towards their open space requirement. What we're asking for is that they recalculate the percentage to demonstrate what that is just in terms of landscaped area on the site. And I would say it's reasonable in this case to permit open space that is less than 20%. Due to the fact that the existing site is almost entirely impervious. The existing site doesn't even have 20% of open space, right? But what we want is the correct figure so that the Planning Commission knows exactly how much of a deviation it's considering, because it's not just 3%, it's something larger than 3%. So we want the correct calculation. But in our professional opinion, we don't see it as a lessening of what's there today. All right, the next item is trees. So the applicant is proposing 46 new trees, as I mentioned, and they have indicated the tree replacement on sheet L1, but they haven't demonstrated how those replacement ratios were calculated. So we're just asking that the tree survey for the site be provided prior to consideration by the board so that we can verify those replacement ratios. Similarly, a note must be added that all ginkgo trees will be male to avoid nuisance fruit. And we recommend that the proposed elm be substituted for a different deciduous tree since they're a derivative of the Siberian elm, which is prohibited in the township. And then slightly below that, you'll see the species for the grass seed mix must be provided. And finally, regarding fencing, which is the last item for landscaping, the applicant is proposing a new chain link fence around the dog park that is 4 feet in height with a fabric liner. The fabric liner must be removed as it is not in keeping with the township's fence regulations for residential properties. The site plan also includes a legend item for a guardrail, but no guardrail is actually shown on any of the sheets. It's unclear if this was just accidentally included in the legend or if a guardrail was supposed to be shown somewhere, so we want either remove it from the legend or show us where the guardrail will be. And then finally, at the very bottom of this page, so the last one is that the project includes both a memorial bench along Plymouth Road, as well as a historical marker in the front center of the building. It was noted on one of the sheets that you could refer to a different one for the architectural detail of that sign, but that wasn't actually provided on the detail sheet. So an architectural detail for the sign was not provided and must be included before final determination by the Board of Trustees. So given all of these comments, which we just went through today, we have two possible recommendations to the Commission. Either that you, 1, postpone the application to allow the applicant to address the items listed in the planner's report, or 2, approve the application and recommend to the Board of Trustees contingent that the items listed in the planner's report are addressed by the Administrative Review Committee prior to consideration by the Board of Trustees and subject to all engineering conditions and any other changes specified by the Commission. And the reason we have both of those options before you today is that we find that none of the items that we have mentioned as discretionary items for the Commission to consider or issues to resolve would fundamentally change the density or the layout or any other aspect of the site design. All of them are relatively small items that can be easily corrected. All right, I await your questions.
Could they be corrected with administrative approval?
Yes,
Okay.
but there are some items that are discretionary that the Commission should give
Right.
advice on today, such as the building veneer, setbacks, things like that.
Procedurally, what's the difference between the two
Well,
options?
it reduces the number of meetings that the project cycles through. So if you postpone it, the applicant will come back to the Planning Commission before going to the board, whereas if it is recommended as conditional approval, the applicant can meet with the administrative committee and get on whatever board agenda comes next.
Okay, thank you.
So,
And we have the engineer. Are you done?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Vehicle parking. They have 155 total off-street parking spaces for the 111 units. And then you're proposing, though, because of the open space issue, to remove some of those parking spaces. Is that going to create an issue?
So there are two ways to approach this. One would be to remove some spaces and increase the open space percentage, or just accept a slightly lower open space percentage. Either of them are fine. The applicant does have some wiggle room. They're still above what we consider the minimum parking observed for an apartment use in our suburban context. But yeah, if parking is something that the applicant believes they need those spaces for, then the Commission should consider a lower open space requirement than 20%.
That's it? What's your question? All right, and now we'll have the engineering report.
Good evening. I'll be reading and paraphrasing from our site plan review letter dated November 29th. We have received the site plan submittal for the above referenced project prepared by PEA Group dated November 21st, 2023, and received by our office on November 27th, 2023. The plans were reviewed in accordance with the current Plymouth Township engineering standards. details codes of ordinances, and the following comments are our recommendations and observations. Approval of the revised tentative final site plan is recommended with items to be addressed during engineering review. The following general comments are to assist in plan preparation in anticipation of your engineering submittal and are not required at this time for site plan approval. The proposed retaining wall will need to be designed by a professional engineer. Next item, water main. The following water main comments are to assist in plan preparation for engineering review submittal and are not required at this time for site plan approval. The proposed water main for a hydrant extension just west of the proposed building must use 12-inch diameter pipe due to the long length. Number 2, based on the provided water main flows and pressure, the buildings may require a pump to supply water to the top floors. Next, sanitary sewer. The following sanitary sewer comments are to assist in plan preparation in anticipation of your engineering review and are not required for site plan approval. 1, a manhole may be required on the northern side of Plymouth Road at 8-inch sanitary extension from the existing 18-inch sanitary sewer. Number 2, the existing 6-inch sanitary sewer extending westerly from the project, including the manhole, must be permanently retired. Next, storm drainage. The following storm sewer comments are to assist for engineering review and submittal and not required for site plan approval. 1, the catch basin above the public or township system or outlet must have a 2-foot deep sump. Additionally, and this was not in our memo, but additionally during the engineering review, we noticed they will need some additional storm structures to pick up any drainage directed onto the neighboring properties or street rights of way with the storm sewer system sized to accommodate this. Next item, site paving. Based on this layout, we have the following site review comments, and these were discussed. Parking spaces, 155 is less than the parking space required for the site, will require planning department and planning commission approval. The following site paving comments are to assist in the plan preparation, anticipation of engineering review and submittal, and are not required at this time for site plan approval. Through the initial plan review, based on information provided at this time, it is not anticipated that traffic study would be required at this time. However, this may be required for future approval. Number 3, show the clear vision triangle at the approach to Plymouth Road. Additional clearing of the existing vegetation west of the approach towards the Rouge River to the west may be needed to improve safety. Next item, floodplain. A portion of the site is located within the flood hazard zone and potentially within the floodway zone of the Middle Rouge River. The plan does not indicate any impacts on the floodplain. However, confirmation from Eagle will be needed. Next, off-site easements. Any off-site utility easements anticipated must be executed prior to final approval of the plans. If they've not already done so, drafts of the easements must be submitted to our office for review and shall be approved prior to executing the easements. Permits. The following permits may be required and will be needed to be provided to the township during engineering plan review. 1, a copy of the Wayne County DPS approval and permit. 2, a copy of the soil erosion permit from Wayne County. 3, a water main and sanitary sewer easements from easements for the proposed services. NPDS notice of coverage. 5, Eagle permit for sanitary sewer and water main. 6, Eagle permit for any proposed work in the 100-year floodplain if applicable. 7, a letter of map revision must be requested through FEMA for the flood insurance rate map where portions of the 100-year floodplain limit is proposed to be relocated if applicable. Eagle permit for proposed work within the state regulated wetlands if applicable. And these items are listed. We did not note impacts, but in case the plans are modified. Number 9, stormwater agreement for stormwater improvements on site. Number 10, maintenance bond and insurance for the sanitary sewer and water main to be dedicated to the township, and right-of-way dedication received and recorded with Wayne County DPS. The following must be submitted with any revised site plan. A letter from either the applicant or the applicant's engineer must be submitted with the site plan highlighting the changes made to the plan, addressing each of the comments listed above, indicating the revised sheets involved. Please be aware additional comments may arise from the submittal and the requested revisions and/or additional information. Comments are not to be construed as approvals and are not necessarily conclusive. The final engineering plans for this development are to be prepared in accordance with the Plymouth Township standards. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. And the applicants received the communication from the fire department. They have found no deficiencies from the public safety perspective. And is the applicant here? Okay.
Good evening. Appreciate you having me here tonight to present our most recent revised site plan. We're very excited about this particular plan and very excited to get this process moving. I know it's been a while. We started with a plan that we felt was at the time the right plan for the site, but we learned both through financial resources to build that particular model and what we have today are two different types of development, and we're very excited about what we have here, which we feel we can deliver both in at a lower cost and at a quicker timeline than we had proposed for the previous development. And this is still, we didn't, this particular development didn't change any of the features and the amenities that we had set aside to keep it a Class A project. This particular project is hitting on all amenity packages. We've got a gym with a rooftop amenity of, I think, 3,000 square feet of space on the rooftop for tenants to enjoy, with a kind of an office WeWork type space designed up there, so if people working from home can enjoy that space up in the rooftop with a great view of the park. And the features of the project are Class A amenities throughout the interiors. We're talking about having granite countertops and stainless steel appliance packages and very nice finishes throughout, almost as if it's a condo grade style development. So we were able to retain all those particular amenities with a slight variance and change to the site plan and the height of the building and the parking. And with that, we wanted to present to you guys just a quick overview of this particular project and answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions, comments? I have a detail. I think when you were here, we talked about the marker that you would be putting by the building and the memorial bench.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you thought much about the text of the marker? Because as I indicated, we have a historical district commission. Would they be involved in that at all?
We've spoken to them, yeah, and we haven't had spoken to them about the design, but we have contacted them, but absolutely, we'd like to have their input.
Who did you talk to? Was it?
I'd have to look up the email. Kurt Heisey had passed me along to the historic district person in charge.
Well, we're meeting actually next week, so I'll mention that to them. And maybe the two, your two groups, our group and your group, can get together and kind of plan on how you might want to approach that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I had a question about the parking. In the prior submission, you had 2 levels of underground parking, and now you have 1. Are there more open-air parking spots, or is it just a bigger indoor lot, or could you give us some direction on that?
Actually, I'll take that one. We'll just kind of double team this. My name is Jason Krieger with Krieger-Klett Architects. We're at 2120 East 11 Mile in Royal Oak. And we have a brief presentation here, and a lot of it's going to be redundant based off the presentation from McKenna. But what we could do is maybe use this as a talking point. So if we could maybe forward the slides, we all know where it is. Next one, please. Next one. Next, that's just a project synopsis. We heard that. We can come back to these. Well, actually, maybe we chat about this really quick. I'll show you the parking in 1 second. So what we did was we looked at some of the items that were underscored in the letter, because our hope is today what we're really trying to get is a recommendation number 2, which is moving forward with some contingencies that we can then work with staff on so that we can move on to the next step. So we worked internally, we addressed some of the items, worked with our civil engineer, addressed some of the items, and I just wanted to show you that here tonight, just so you could see that they work or they're being worked on, and as stated, they're small items that are just little tweaks or corrections. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the item about the brick, the first one that's listed up there, we will absolutely work with city staff, and if there's any recommendations tonight, we heard the brown or darker brown or reddish brick. A lot of that is, we want to make sure that we're looking at the final material selections and making sure that it all blends. So it might be a brownish brick, it might be a little bit lighter, because what we're showing here tonight, they're renderings. They're showing intent, and so the intent of this building aesthetically is to have like a nice neutral rich color palette. We will have darker windows, we'll have dark browns or black windows, dark browns or black balconies, and then we'll start to accent that with the bricks. We're looking at cast stone, which we could show you. So we're gonna have a very, very nice color palette, a long-term, high-quality product. So if we can get some guidance, we'll take that, and what we'd love to do then is work with staff to finalize that determination. The 20% total land area should be allocated. So we are lacking on the open space. We're hoping that's something that we could be granted and move forward tonight. We respect the recommendation about getting rid of parking. That makes sense. Sometimes we've done that, or you land bank it. This is a developer-driven decision. 1.4, which is the parking ratio, is really ideal for this building in order to make it work and function. And the way we see it is, we're giving this development, I know we can't count it, but we're giving it a wonderful rooftop amenity deck. And then when you look at an aerial and look at all the parks and land around it, we think there's a ton of just natural resources around this that are, passive outdoor areas. So we think that the intent is there, and we're hoping that we can get the reduction in that open space. The tree replacement was actually, that's something that will be addressed. The ginkgos, and those male, that's all going to be fine. The fabric fence, we have no problem with changing that. The guardrail, I think that was supposed to be, I don't know what one, I think that was for the retaining wall. So we do have a guardrail that we'll be putting on top of the retaining wall. It would match the fence that would go around the dog park, and it would match any standards that's in the city. Likely it would be an aluminum, pre-finished aluminum guardrail. And then and that was in the letter for us to work with the Historic Commission, and we're happy to do that, to finalize any sign details. We'd be very, very happy to meet with them and work through that. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, next slide. Okay, this is just showing that the truck turning radii work on the site. Our engineer put that together yesterday. And then we can also very easily add the screen wall details, which are shown here. These are actually off the drawings that are not in your packet, but they're now on the drawings that we have for this development. Next slide, please. Now, to answer your question, this right here is Plymouth Road, right along here. And then the drive-in is along the west here. This L shape is the building above. So it's a podium. So you would drive in, you would come in, drive under the building and park in here. Or behind the building, this is the surface parking, all like this right here. So trucks or vehicles could pull in, they could swing around. They could also pull in here, and then our dumpsters are located right here on the site. Was that answering your question?
So originally there were 2 levels of parking.
Correct.
Are there still the same number of undercover parking?
No, there's less undercover. There's more surface, but now it's hidden from Plymouth Road.
Do you know about how many less? Just
no.
Of covered?
Yeah, you might know. I don't remember.
We've got more because of the L shape of the building. So we had a straight shot building, was an L shape. So we have more on the first floor, but the 2-story all concrete was the problem from a financing standpoint. The cost of that with concrete costs, it just wasn't economically viable. So the covered parking spots are probably down by a third, not quite a half, but a third. We can get you an exact number from the previous.
Just curious. Thank you.
So where do you enter the parking again?
I'm sorry?
Where do you enter the parking, the underground parking?
So, so if you drive in right here off of Plymouth, then you can enter here, there's a drive.
Take a sharp left?
Yep, and then there's a drive right there. There and there, so you can drive through.
Are those assigned parking spots?
You know, it depends. We've done that in some developments where we assign them. Typically, it's a first come, first served basis. Those will probably come at a premium where someone would pay to have the covered parking versus the uncovered parking. So if there's, you know, people willing to pay for it, and if not, then we'll figure something out.
Where's the dog park on this document?
It's right
there.
Is there any visitor parking designated?
I'm sorry?
Any designated visitor parking?
No, it'll be, most visitors would park out in the front by the clubhouse. So that's the entrance point to get into the apartment units.
Is there a key fob or some kind of a fob to get into the underground parking?
It'll be all fob.
Public security?
Yep.
Well, you did reduce the number of apartments, so that would
We
account
did.
for some of the reduction in the parking, but how many parking spaces are you providing?
We have 155
And 111
and
apartments?
111 apartments.
1.4.
And that meets our parking ordinance requirements?
So it does not meet our minimum parking ordinance requirements, but because it's a PUD, they are allowed to provide something other than what we minimum require. In this case, I checked their parking against the parking that was observed for similar size apartment buildings in a similar suburban context, and they do provide more than the observed quantity in this case. So if you'll remember back to the last residential PUD, which is the Plymouth Walk PUD, we applied the exact same parking ratios to their project.
Are you going to have any electric charging stations at all on the site?
We've talked about that, and we're in the process of discussing that with a solar company as well, some of the solar panel options that are out there for the rooftop. It's still something that we're talking about, but look, one of the developers that are in my group has got a Tesla, so I'd assume he's going to push hard for that. We would like to see a few spots to have that, because we are trying to be a cutting edge apartment complex, and I would. If we could make it work financially, we're going to try to fit those in, 2 of them.
And what we're doing anyways, and you're still going to prep for them, right? You run the PVC and the grounds, and you want to plan for a little bit of expansion too. It's just kind of part of the course.
So that's a total of 100 and, how many bedrooms in the penthouse?
It's a mix of 2 and 3. The actual unit designs themselves are not 100% fleshed out yet. But
Just say 2, that's 22 plus 80 is 102. That's 162 bedrooms, 155 parking spots. Seems like you might have a problem.
Yeah, the 3 bedrooms are, if we have a 3-bedroom, it would be maybe 1 unit based on the current layout of the property. But no, we have a very similar mix at all of our other apartments, and 1.4 is look, I'd love to have 2, but it services the building. Most 2 bedrooms are either rented by a single person that wants to have a spare bedroom or a den. They have 1 car, or there's a family where that has kids that don't drive. So having a car per bedroom is very rare.
And I will mention the Institute of Traffic Engineers parking generation figures that we provide in here are observing both resident and visitor parking together. So it's observing all the parking that's occupied on the site at one given time.
Are there any employees that are working there, like 24 hours?
No, there would be, for a property this size, there would be a manager and a maintenance person that would be there during the 9 to 5 type hours, and then on call for any emergency situations.
But did we ever see the samples of the building materials? I thought you brought something in when you were here, but there was still a debate about the coloration similar to what we're having tonight. I know things were still
We
being.
have some renderings at the back of the slide deck, maybe if you want to go go back there. We don't have any physical samples with us, but we have renderings that show you the intent. You keep going. Might be a little harder to see because it's a projector. But so this right here is showing more of the beige, lighter beige brick. We have cast stone, which is a light beige color. All of this trim here is dark bronze brake metal, and then the windows would match. And then we have the James Hardy siding up here, and right now it's generally matching the brick. So if we were to darken this up, then we would just have to kind of take another look at the siding, up there and see what we want to do. This shows the balcony or the rooftop terrace right here. So that moved away from the courthouse. And then actually you can see this is where you drive in, you drive under the building there. And this is that loop in the parking lot right there. And Plymouth Road is right out there.
And that rooftop terrace is I want to say close to 3,000 square feet of open air space. And then also there's 3,000 square feet of enclosed conditioned space that would be used for, it would be flex space that you can, work in during the week as office space, home office space, like if someone wanted to have a spot to be on their laptop and do some work, but also you can flex it into space where if someone wanted to have a baby shower or have a graduation party, they could do that in that space as well.
Has that space, the open space up there, has that changed since your initial submission?
Yeah,
size?
it was originally it spanned across a good portion of the rooftop, but after a few meetings with the courthouse, we decided to move it over to the west side of the building just to be away from the courthouse.
But how much smaller is it now?
The exterior portion is about the same size. I have to look at the interior. I think we had a little more interior conditioned space, but I can get some figures for you on that.
But this increased in size down here.
Good point. We did add a lower level clubhouse that previously was not there. So our original plan had a very small vestibule. You walked in and you walked right into an elevator basically to get you up to the rooftop, where we had the lower level clubhouse and the upper level clubhouse all combined on the rooftop. Now we've split it a little bit to have a presence on the ground floor. So it's a more traditional walk in, have a leasing office right there, have a welcome center, and then the gym downstairs, and then you can make your way up to the rooftop for the amenities.
Is there security to get in?
It would just be fobbed doors to get in. The front door would be open during business hours to get into the leasing office, but to get into the elevators or get upstairs would be all fobbed.
I think initially, wasn't there also a place to wash your dog or something too in the?
Yeah.
You have to have that nowadays.
Is that still?
Yeah, we have a small dog washing station that's built into that first floor. We originally had it in the parking deck along with a car wash. That's been eliminated.
Okay, car wash eliminated.
That was a little extra, but we eliminated the car wash and just we needed the spaces.
Also, bike storage, I believe, in your original plan. Have you?
Yeah, we do still have some storage built in throughout the property on multiple floors. I believe we have storage in every floor, but there's also some storage in the garage for both mechanical rooms and general storage. It's not delineated as bike or not, it's just general storage.
See.
So is it storage spaces that people can rent, or is it just general for anyone?
We haven't finalized the exact layout of every square foot of the storage space, but it's, we've got some pockets that we're going to carve out for either package delivery storage or bike storage. Or general storage if you wanted to rent a storage locker space.
Is there a fitness center?
There is.
Still, okay. So that's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would suspect people may have bicycles there because you're so close to Heinz Park. They do
Yes.
close it on Saturdays in the summer.
Otherwise, they're going to be on the balcony.
Right.
Bikes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen that too. Yeah, we highly discourage bikes on balconies.
So the original plan, as I recall, had a really nice front appearance. There was, the building was set back from the street, there was nice lawn, there was a curved road going into the parking area. Now this is going to be right on Plymouth Road. This is not the elevation that you would see here. This is kind of a fictitious, bird's eye view elevation, right? Because you're actually looking at this from Heinz Park, really, from this angle.
Yeah, I think you'd be right above the river there, looking at it from the back.
It seems to me that, per Ms. Barberino's comment, that there was more open space on the top floor. There was both open space as well as some space with like a cover over it, like a roof over it or something like that. Let's see. It looks to me like your elevations aren't quite as premium as they originally were. Some of the moldings at the top are smaller now than they were. It just doesn't, when you first presented this to us, my view was this is absolutely top-notch. And I get a sense that it's just not quite at that level. And I think you mentioned it's both related to the building costs and also trying to get the building built more quickly. Is that driving these changes?
No, the changes were really born by the way the parking was designed was inefficient out of the gate. A two-story concrete parking deck just doesn't make any sense in today's construction environment. So we wanted to maintain as many units as we could, and we did not want to get rid of units, but we did not sacrifice a single thing in terms of finishes. This finish on this is Class A at every square inch. Every surface of this property is hard surfaced. There is no shortcuts on any of the exterior features, and the interiors aren't actually going to be second to none in the market. I don't think you're going to find a single apartment complex that allows or provides for the type of finishes that we're proposing in the interior. So yeah, this project is Class A all the way, and we haven't cut anything but really just reducing the height of the building to accommodate more surface parking than deck parking to make the deal work.
Is there a rendering in your project here for what's seen from Plymouth Road?
I'm sorry, say that
Do you have a
again?
rendering
Yeah,
for
we
what
have a
faces
bunch of
Plymouth
them,
Road?
Sure, yeah.
This view, wouldn't this view be from Plymouth Road?
No, that's the parking lot side. So if you keep going, parking lot side, that's as you drive in, you would see that.
So that'd be,
There's a view from.
There you go.
from Plymouth Road.
So it's the left part of this image that's the Plymouth Road view.
That's right.
Although the rendering is missing the sidewalk
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that is
no sidewalk.
proposed.
We're missing, there's a sidewalk that goes right along here. So right now, I believe the sidewalk's right along the road.
It is attached, yes.
Yeah, and it moves in this way.
So the courthouse is where, in the very
It's on
back?
the other side.
On the very back here?
yep.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood.
So what we liked about this is that you're actually hiding just about all of the parking behind the building. And the idea would be to have more of a pedestrian feel that comes from the street.
And to be clear, the applicant is proposing to establish a lawn extension between the sidewalk and Plymouth Road. So today, the sidewalk is directly next to the road, which is a less safe pedestrian environment. And they're proposing to add a lawn extension and also set their building back further than the existing courthouse grill was set back.
So what is the dimension, the setback dimension from Plymouth Road, say from the curb of Plymouth Road to the front of the building?
The setback from the edge of the sidewalk to the building was 10 feet.
35 feet?
35, 40 feet.
Okay, so you've basically got a building that's 5 to 6 stories tall, about 35 feet from the road, just so we're
Correct.
clear. Okay.
That might be a dimension there. I don't know if you can read it. It might be too pixelated.
Might be on your plans here somewhere.
Any other questions or comments?
I do. Per the zoning ordinance, there's supposed to be a 20% of open space, and you had calculated 17%, but that includes the balcony and rooftop.
That's correct.
do you have an idea, is it gonna go down to like 16% once you take out those calculations, or are we talking like 12%?
Thought that was 14.15. 14.15?
14.15 is what you expect it to go to? Okay.
Where are rents starting at?
We're projecting rents, depending upon the type of unit you take, between $2 and $2.50 per square foot. So a traditional 800 square foot unit would be between $1,600 and $1,900 per month. The higher you go up the building, the rooftop units are considered penthouse quality, so we're gonna step up the finishes, have a higher ceiling height. I think those are they gonna be 10? So 10-foot ceilings in the penthouse suite, those will be a little more expensive than your floors 2 through 3, or 1 through 4.
Right, and the standard ceiling height's 9, so
So those will be 5,000 a month plus?
Depending upon the size. And then we only have 10 of them?
I think so.
Yeah. So those will be really looking for like a condo, person that just sold a condo and said, I want the same finish as my condo, but I don't want to own. And so, you know,
Deal with the condo.
we want you to fix everything and we just want to have a nice condo finish. Did you want one? Do you want me to put you on the list?
I'll take it.
I can set you up.
I want 2 and knock a hole between them.
That was great.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the underlined issues, just double checking. So what's the commission's pleasure on how, on the recommendation, the 2 recommendations that were provided to us in the engineer, or in the planner's report?
And I did find the setback from the road. The building will be 40 feet from the edge of the roadway.
You can either postpone this or recommend approval, subject to a review by the Administrative Review Committee.
I'm kind of recommending approval. I think most of the required changes are small, not substantive, that probably readily can be corrected.
Just have the Administrative Review Committee kind of overlook it.
I'm leaning in that direction also.
All right.
I guess as long as we're comfortable with the 14.15% of open space instead of the 20, because that's something the Administrative Review Committee wouldn't,
No, we.
like, if we said no to, if we didn't agree with that, then that's gonna be a big site change. So I see that as a
Property's been
crux.
blighted for quite some time.
There's a lot of open space around it.
Take a long walk through the cemetery.
Also, I have one correction. Our engineer measured it. It's actually 50 feet back. So,
50-foot
yeah.
setback.
Thanks. I don't have engineering software, so.
Oh,
he's right.
okay. All right. Well, if we're comfortable with the open space, okay. And then you'll be working with the historical district. I'll raise the issue up, or not the issue, but the item up at our meeting next week, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would move that project PC number 2502 Hillside Overlook Apartments, that the PUD site development plan as presented, the final plan, that this be approved, and the recommendation that it be sent forward to the commissioners, and it be approved with, I'm sorry,
Trustees.
what? Oh, I'm sorry, for the Board of Trustees, excuse me. And that it incorporate the changes as outlined by Nani in the planning report,
And reviewed by the administrator.
reviewed by the Administrative Committee.
Is there support for that? Moved by Commissioner Berry and supported by Commissioner.
Could I just have a
Chavez,
clarification?
yes.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Would that include that the red-brown brick veneer as opposed to the grays? that were listed under the architectural design?
Yes.
Okay.
With the flexibility, I know he talked about the siding, that they would try to coordinate the colors, and I think that the administrative committee could work with them on that.
And the support for the 14.5% open space, correct?
Correct.
I think it's everything that's, all the items that were listed in the planner's report. It's contingent upon those being addressed by the Administrative Review Committee, correct?
It is, but I don't think the 14.5% was, that wasn't.
Because that was
known
still
when-
vague.
But we didn't know what it was.
So it's now, it's called out in their presentation. It said it's 14.15%, correct?
And if you, once you settle on these building materials, if you can provide samples to the committee so that they can look at it and see the actual color as opposed to, okay. All right. Anything else? All right. And again, it's been moved by Commissioner Bering, supported by Commissioner Dorchevitz to recommend approval by the Board of Trustees after a review by the Administrative Review Committee for application 2502. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Well, congratulations. Next is application 2466, the Sarah Fund Automotive, and the planner's report.
Thank you, Commissioners. So there are also several written comments that were distributed to you today, just so you know, you all have a copy in front of you at your seats for this item.
Yes, the secretary will provide a summary of it.
So apologies for the vacuum sounds, everybody. All right, so this is for PC number 2466, Sarah Fund Automotive, which is an application for a special land use at 14760 Northville Road. This is review iteration number 3. A special land use approval is requested for an automobile commercial garage composed of minor repair work and an outdoor car sales lot. The existing front auto repair building would be improved with a facade renovation, and the rear vacant car wash building would be improved and repurposed. The former car wash building footprint will be slightly expanded by less than 700 square feet, enclosed in the new facade. So, and it says that no major automotive repair services are proposed or permitted. So I just want to cover a little bit of the history of this application, since this has now come before us numerous times over the last year and several months. So back in the earlier portions of 2023, the applicant submitted for a variety of uses on this site, including minor automotive repair, major automotive repair, and car sales. The site is currently allowed to be minor automotive repair. It was the Lakeshore Tire and Auto site, which has been there for many decades, and that use is permitted to be conducted within the existing building that's there today. And the applicant was essentially applying to expand that use and improve the lot overall. During this time, some of the trees on the site were taken down. That was noted, and code enforcement was executed on that, and the applicant was directed to submit a complete special land use and a site plan application to get the site into conformance. So the township offered the applicant that avenue for compliance, and the first step of that is a special land use application. If the special land use application is approved, the applicant will move on to the site plan stage, which is where they plan, exactly where the trees are going to be planted and how that use is going to be conducted. So the special land use is concerning the uses themselves and how they can be operated in a safe and unintrusive manner. So I just wanted to put that out there, explain what's available, what can be conducted on that site today, and what is being proposed in the future. Previously, the applicant had mentioned they were thinking about doing major automotive repair. That has since been removed from the proposed plans. So what is being proposed today is minor automotive repair work and an outdoor car sales lot. So just a little bit of the history on that site so that we bring everybody back onto the same page.
But to clarify that, anything that is permitted use within a C2 zoning district could be, they could tear this down and do anything that's within a C2 zoning district, right?
Sure, yes, but I think the applicant is here today with the specific ambition of doing automotive
Yeah,
repair.
I know. I'm using that for illustration.
Yeah, so today, minor repair work, which is approved in that front building right now from the old Lakeshore Tire operation, is a special land use in the C2 district. So the reason they're being asked to reapply for minor repair is because they're proposing to expand the portion of the site that is dedicated to that. If you're expanding or changing the geographic extent of a special land use, you have to reapply. So that's what we're here for today. All right, so just to clarify that before we get into it. So you saw this application last month, so I'm not going to go through every aspect of it again, but I will note that previously last month, the commission requested that we provide a new recommendation, which included the restrictions that the applicant is offering on their hours of operation and the number of vehicles on the site. So on the final page of our recommendation, which is page 8, we have rewritten this for you, and we have left space for the commission to discuss the appropriate hours of operation for this site. So at this time, we're recommending that the Planning Commission grant special land use approval for PC number 2466 at 14760 Northville Road for the use of minor automotive repair and a car dealership, subject to the following items being addressed on a detailed revised concept plan. The restriction to the hours of operation with blank spaces for the commission to discuss, dependent on the findings of the commission. Restriction to the maximum number of vehicles which may be stored outdoors to be no more than 40 vehicles. Replacement of all trees to be provided during the site plan review process, and site plan approval as secured at a future date. Does the commission have any questions?
I do. It says a dealership. Could that be, does it have to be used? Could it be new cars? Could it be tractors, a tractor dealership?
So you're right. Laura's language should be amended to say outdoor car sales lot.
Outdoor car sales lot?
Which is a specific type of dealership, yes.
Car sales,
They have to be
right.
permitted for that, right? They have to get a state permit for that.
So, yeah, any person who's dealing in vehicles is dealing with the state, a separate function from the township, yes.
Okay, outdoor car sales lot, and it doesn't matter if they're new or used?
Nope,
Okay,
not in this case.
thank you.
And that does not permit the sale of parts, though, just to be clear. We distinguish between whole vehicles and portions of vehicles.
Can you repeat that?
Say that again.
It does not include the sale of parts.
Oh,
So the sale of
parts.
automotive parts is a separate use and separate designation from the sale of a whole vehicle.
So it can't be a junkyard.
And it's specifically commercial vehicles as well. You know, I'm sorry, not commercial, passenger vehicles, not things like tractor trailers or trucks or tractors themselves or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, we've already had a public hearing on this application, but I know there's been interest on this. And so we'll open the meeting up to public comments if anyone here wants to speak to this application. But first, I'll ask our secretary to summarize written communication that we've received.
So there are, I'm assuming, Nani, the picture goes with one of them.
So there are 3 separate comments. The picture is its own email. That's
I
from the
can't read.
president. Yeah, the text of the email is not essential. It's the pictures that the applicant or the
Okay.
messenger wanted to convey to you. So it's from Brent Gratomsky, the president of the Gateway HOA, and he sent these pictures of the site from the perspective of the homes that abut it.
Okay, so that would be just what, from the perspective of the homeowners, what they would see when they looked out their window. For-
Specifically from the eastern portion of the site.
Okay. And then the other 2 basically were objecting to trucks coming and going, the amount of traffic, lack of landscaping, and cutting down the trees, and those seem to be the, an unsightly use of the property seems to be the common theme running through the other 2 emails, just to summarize them briefly.
So, do these contain the emails that Laura has sent out? Somebody gave the outside pictures?
Yeah, so there's a variety of emails. We didn't duplicate the ones we gave you last month. These are
yeah.
the ones that we've received new for this month. So over the course of the last year, we've received, several dozen written comments about this site. These are just the most recent ones.
Yeah, but she sent that out, I don't know, either today or yesterday.
Yeah, then these ones are the same as that. You're just not seeing the text with it.
I don't see the picture, but it's not that picture.
Oh, the
There was
other
a
pictures.
picture of the facility itself. Yeah, I don't see that here.
So that one, you mean from the interior of the facility?
Well, there were cars parking, and it was an example of what the sender believed was going on.
I think, I think I know the one you're talking about. I can print it and we can put it in the minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so there's a 3-minute time limit. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this application? Yes, you can just come on and give us your name and your address if you wish.
Good evening. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Gateways of Plymouth Association. The main thing is I wanted to hand out those pictures that I printed. On behalf of the residents, there were a lot of pictures provided via email to Laura and Annie. I know that some of it was confusing, some of them didn't have descriptions, so I just wanted to compile them all, put a little bit of context to them, and provide them all together. The concerns are mentioned pretty clearly in there. There is the fact that all of the trees that you can see there, and it's towards the end of the printout, they've all been cleared. So there is obviously the privacy concern from those units in the, I guess that would be the east side of the development. And in general, we are just very concerned about what is going on there because it's supposed to be minor repair, but we're seeing heavy repair. We're seeing an inflow of vehicles coming in on tow trucks that are clearly crashed vehicles. Possibly bought at auction, I'm not sure, but I'm concerned. I know, as far as I can tell, that there is an enforcement, a violation that was submitted in April of this year. As far as I can tell from the website, that is still not complied with. The last inspection was, I believe, June or something like that. So when I hear things like this is going to be sales of used vehicles, light repair, it's not going to be a junkyard, this, that, and the other, it very much goes against what we're seeing. And on behalf of all the residents, there's quite a few of us here, we're all very concerned because we're hearing one thing and it sounds very nice, the plan sounds great. The place was not exactly beautiful before it got transferred hands, but we're seeing a decline. And so my concern is, if it's already declining, what's to stop this from continuing to decline? Where does it stop? Where does it improve? Frankly, it's much worse than it was before it changed hands, primarily because of the condition, the vehicles, and the fact that it's all been leveled. Some of those pictures really speak for themselves. They're one of the units in the end there, from their window, entirely green trees, really old trees that should not have been taken down. Now, straight shot into the garage on the east end of the property, and vice versa. From the garage, you can see right into the window of one of the units, large window. So I also realize that in the future land use map, that area is expected to be high density residential, I believe. So just generally curious about at which point does the future vision become reality if this is approved. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
My name's Scott Colbert, 42624 Gateway Drive. I'm actually the homeowner that looks directly on that property. When I bought my house, right, it was a clear, I mean, I knew what was on the other side, but it was completely blocked out. You know, and understanding that, you know, that was minor repair, the idea of now a used car lot, giving that special, you know, right to be able to do that, that's not what I bought my house assuming could go there. Now we're talking about a special use to be able to do this. And then, you know, my other concern is if this truly is zoned and in the master plan, that it would go to residential if it changed hands again. Maybe you can clarify. That's what I thought I heard in the previous meetings, that if it was sold, it would become residential consistent with the master plan. And if that is the case, then I'd ask, why would we variance further from that and give special use beyond that doesn't tie to that? That's it.
Okay, well, thank you. Anyone else? Yes,
Is that an accurate statement?
I'm going to get to that for a
Okay.
minute.
I'm also a resident of the Gateway condominiums and a member of the HOA Board of Directors. I kind of just supporting the two gentlemen that have come up already. I kind of question why we would approve a special land use given kind of contradicts the master plan from 2015. As I've observed over the last year, the flatbed records come in and out, a lot of wrecked vehicles coming in and out. The property's unkept. It wasn't, as it was mentioned earlier, it wasn't in pristine condition before. It's probably in poor condition today. I just think we can do better and stick to the residential. And I know the majority of the 35 or so members in the Gateway community, everyone opposes this. And we just wanted to go on record that we feel a better use of the property can be done. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm also a member of the Gateway community, having just purchased the condo in March of 2023. And I was led to believe that that land was going to be turned to residential. So I want to know, I'm asking a question, why are we not consistent with our future land use map of 2015? Why would we not be consistent with what was written in 2015, which I'm sure was considered in the best interest of our community and our city, or township, I'm sorry. I'm also very concerned about lighting pollution because the hours that they're proposing are until 9 o'clock in the evening. In the winter, we're dark at 5 o'clock, so are we going to have lights up in our backyard all night long, basically? And we have to have, they're proposing that, those hours. We need to have a consistent, like, we're going to be open from 9 to 5. We're not going to say, sometimes we're going to be open till 9 because someone wants to drop off a car or come see a car later in the evening. I'm very concerned about signage. What kind of signage are they going to put on the front of this building that advertises that they do repairs and are a used car lot next to $500,000 homes? And also I'm concerned about the definition of a minor repair. What is a minor repair? Are we talking about bumping out a side of a car and rubbing it? Or are we concerned about removing engines and transmissions and huge equipment in the back of our homes? So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I want to just take a break from that for a minute. But Ms. Wolf, I remember in an earlier report, there was a paragraph in the planner's report that discussed that residential use, and that it was a difficult goal to achieve and probably needs to be looked at when we revise the master plan. Do you
Yes.
have that report with you, maybe?
We do still have that. So that's on page 3. It's consideration number 1B. It says, "The subject site is designated as high-density residential on the 2015 future land use map. However, the site has been historically used for over 60 years as an automotive repair shop. Additionally, the site is located next to M14, which is a less than ideal location for multifamily residential development. Nonetheless, the proposed use is not consistent with the future land use map of the 2015 master plan." So that's the statement we've had since the beginning.
So can you answer the question why it's not going to be, residential? What are the roadblocks there?
Sure. So I think to answer that question a little bit better, I have to get into how communities turn their future land use map into their zoning code. So the future land use map is what we plan for the future, and the zoning code is the legal mechanism for enforcing that, right? And they don't always match with one another. Usually you adopt the future land use plan, and then you have to update the zoning code to make it match. So there are 2 different ways that communities go about that. Some communities, when they adopt a future land use map, will change their zoning code holistically. They'll change the whole thing. They rezone every property in the township to make it perfectly match the future land use map. And that is great in that, it makes people conform to the vision, but it also can create a lot of challenges. So, for example, if you're living in a single-family home and you are getting ready to sell your home to someone else, and you're looking at a buyer who wants to tear down your home and rebuild it in their dream house, right? But your property has been rezoned to commercial. That person can no longer do that. Because you've changed it from residential to commercial, they're hedged into whatever that use is. So what that means is it creates a lot of what we call legal nonconformities. A legal nonconformity is another term for a property that's grandfathered in, a property that used to match the zoning code but no longer does because we changed it. And legal nonconformities have a lot of restrictions on them. For example, if they fall vacant for 180 days, you're no longer allowed to reestablish that use that was there before. So that's the risk you take if you overhaul your entire zoning ordinance to match your future land use map. But some communities do choose to do that and just take the brunt of the conflict that the nonconformities create. The other thing that communities can do is allow property owners to opt in to that future land use map. So that's the approach that Plymouth Township has taken for the past, since we created zoning, basically since the 1970s. And what that means is a property owner could say, buy this property and propose to rezone it from commercial, which is what it is today, to multifamily residential. And we would absolutely support that rezoning. We would say, yes, that matches the future land use map. That sounds great. But until that happens, they are still allowed to operate it as commercial, which is what it is zoned for today. And that is a slower approach to matching your future land use plan. It doesn't bring you really close to your vision really fast, but what it does is it eliminates all the conflicts that come from those non-conforming grandfathered in uses. So that's the approach Plymouth has taken. The slower approach is what I would say. So the reason that you don't see someone applying for multifamily right now on this site is because it is still zoned commercial. No one has applied to rezone it from commercial to multifamily. So does anyone have questions about that?
No, I don't think so. Does that answer the gentleman that raised that issue? Does that answer your concern?
If they sold if the property transferred ownership, it would still remain zoned C2.
Unless the new owner chose to apply to rezone it.
Yeah.
So someone could, just like this gentleman did, buy that property and operate it for minor automotive repair, even if it wasn't this gentleman, right? That's still allowed under the way it's currently
They
zoned.
could buy that property and bulldoze it and put in any
commercial use,
permissible use
Specifically in the C2 district,
in the
though.
C2, right?
What are some examples again of C2?
Let me pull some up. One moment. I've got the whole code right in front of me. One moment. All right, C2 General Commercial District. So these are some examples of the principal permitted uses in the C2 district. These mean uses that do not require a special land use permit. Any uses that are allowed in the office district are allowed. So that's things like, legal offices, dental clinics, those sorts of things. Retail establishments, service establishments that are associated with those retail businesses, restaurants, cafes, drugstores and pharmacies, private clubs and lodges, commercial parking garages, trade schools, banks and financial institutions, and any accessory structures associated with those.
So a lot of other things could go in there.
On page 4, where you articulate this, you say the restaurants do include service of alcohol. Is that correct?
Page 4 of the report, one moment.
Top of page 4.
Top of page 4.
Consideration 1D.
Yeah, but scroll down, step up.
Oh, yes, restaurants with the service of alcoholic beverages. So we distinguish between restaurants whose primary function is alcoholic beverages versus restaurants who serve alcoholic beverages. And in this case, it's restaurants who serve alcoholic beverages, not someone that only serves alcoholic beverages. That's a separate designation, which is a bar.
So these are all the uses that would be legal for the property under its current zoning, correct?
But this is not exhaustive.
No, this
These
is
are
just a
examples.
sampling. The full ordinance is available online. It's Article 13, and that has the exhaustive list. So the C2 district allows any uses that are permitted in the office service district and the C1 district, which is our less intense level of commercial activity. So it encompasses quite a lot. And this is similar to, if you go a little bit further, north on Northville Road, there's those little, like the dental association building and the gas station right there and the mortgage lending building. Those share a similar type of neighborhood fabric integration that this site was originally planned for. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, and we should note that our ordinance does say where bus stations can go as a use. We don't have control over that since we don't control our roads, but it's just because our ordinance is old. There's also no bus service in Plymouth, so it's not really worth including.
Does anyone else have a comment? Okay.
I just would like to say a few things based on one of probably the oldest residents on that street. I back up to the Sarah Fund building. Been there for about 14 years. Knew Ray, the owner of Lake Shore, as many people in Plymouth did many, many years ago, and used to tease him about selling out and going to play golf in Florida. I said, what are you doing working so hard? And he said he had offers, he wasn't ready to retire. So I know there's other opportunities, or there was back then anyway, but a lot of the concerns, I guess my list is shorter because these folks have brought up a lot of the concerns I have. But, realistically, we get our assessments this week and property values is right up there. The young lady there said a $500,000 condo. Nobody's gonna wanna move on the street if we have a used car lot there. With all due respect to Mo, realistically, it's gonna be difficult. The way I look at that sketch online, to see the lot laid out like that, we're totally exposed. We're backed right up against that wall. I know he's gonna put a berm in, but realistically, there's gonna be people in and out of there looking at used cars. I'm a father of 3 kids. I bought a lot of used cars in my days. And I used to go, kids would find a car in a lot, I'd go at night with them, take a look at the car before the place opened up next day. It's just kind of the nature of the program with a used car lot. It concerns me tremendously. The neighbors are wholeheartedly against this on Gateway. The people that have been there a long time as well. The lady mentioned lighting and things like that, very concerning. Our condos are 2 stories tall. My office in my 2nd-story bedroom, totally exposed to the light and exposure like that. And through the night, late at night, it would be terrible. Not to mention folks coming and going with 2 driveways like that. It just doesn't seem like a good fit. The people in the neighborhood were thrilled when the Phoenix Mill was refurbished and opened up, because all of a sudden we had signs of life in Old Town and things were getting better. They were. It was also a little bit more attractive now. I'd like to see that keep going and moving forward. But if you walk down that street and knock on any door, ask them their opinion, you'll get it. I'm not sure any of you people live in that neighborhood or around there, are familiar with it, but all we want is the best for our community, and we want our property values to maintain their level. We want people to come in. We don't want this to happen and people put for sale signs up. And I'm at fear that would happen. That's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, we'll hear from the applicant.
Hello, Mohammed Issa again. First, I'd like to clear something up about changing to residential. I don't believe it'll ever get changed to residential because Eagle is involved, because the site was extremely contaminated, and I've done a lot of cleaning, and it probably needs some more cleaning, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna put a restriction of ever turning it into a residential. That's one. Two, I would like to state, I was gonna buy a home in Northville by the landfill. And, my wife, after we went and looked at the home, she told me, we can't ever complain if we do buy a home here about any smell or trucks or what have you. When these homes were built and when these people bought their homes, I totally respect their homes, and I'm not trying to, disrespect anyone, but they knew that there was an automotive facility there to begin with. And to be honest, it looks horrible, it really does. I'm trying to improve that. Of course, yes, I'm trying to do used car sales as well. They're right, there are vehicles being delivered that have accidents on them. We discussed this last month, I'm sorry. That's my type of business. I buy vehicles that I'm gonna resell. I'm not selling them at the property right now, but I've been unemployed for 2 years because I haven't opened for business yet. So I'm doing what I gotta do right now just to make ends meet for my family. I don't know what else, if there's any more questions, but I think we went over most of the stuff I wanted to go through last time I was here.
I think the concern is that I hear from the neighbors is that they don't feel like you've really addressed their concerns about maintaining the privacy, maintaining a semblance of a demarcation between your property and theirs. And they're showing these pictures, and I have to say, they're a little bit troublesome to look at.
Sure.
I mean, the idea is you want to improve this property. I think everybody would be in favor of improvements, but you're asking us to change to a special designation that will help maybe improve the value of your property, but how can you convince us it's not going to decrease the value of their property?
Well, no one can ever say for certain what's gonna happen. If you're talking about what barriers we're gonna put, and we're not at that stage yet, but I'm gonna plant the trees that are gonna separate. If I understood your question properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a full site plan yet, but that's gonna be on the site plan. You have a proposed site plan that shows the trees that are gonna be there to buffer between the homes and us. We can add more trees, but other than that, other than the 6-foot brick wall, if you need me to go higher on the brick wall and you grant me that permission, I'll make that brick wall a 12-foot brick wall. Whatever the commission sees fit, we can do.
Have you ever met with the homeowners? I know there was discussion or.
I met a few of them in the hallway, and again, I stated last time that I sent an email to that gentleman. I'm sorry, what was your name, Adam? Person in the green, yes? Andre, I'm sorry. I believe I sent him an email for the meeting that I had missed. Immediately after that meeting, I sent an email the following morning, but I never got a response. So I don't know if he received that email or not. So other than that, no, I did not have any
The
contact.
idea is you're trying to present to us that you're going to make those improvements, and it would be helpful if you did meet with them and reinforce that idea, because they don't have that impression at all, based upon what they have seen recently in particular.
Well, there's no improvements being done right now. There has not been any improvements.
Right, but you cleared out everything.
Correct.
And they don't know what's coming next. You haven't talked to them.
Sure, no problem.
I think the other thing that still, it's unclear to me too, is how do you define minor repair and not, major. Is that spelled out in the ordinance?
Yes, it is spelled out in the ordinance. I think we covered that briefly last time, but let me pull up the definition again.
What section is that?
It's under the definitions chapter, which is at the very end of the ordinance. One moment.
Hang on, let me pull it up on the screen.
Yep, I'm finding the article for you. Definitions is Article 36 at the bottom.
Right here.
Yep, there you go. So automobile commercial garage, routine maintenance and minor repair is a building or premises used primarily to provide general maintenance on automobiles, such as oil changes and lubrication, servicing and repair of spark plugs, batteries, pumps, belts, hoses, air filters, windshield wipers and distributors, mufflers and exhaust replacement, brakes and shock absorbers, radiator cleaning and flushing, the sale and installation of accessories such as tires, radios, and air conditioners, wheel alignment, balancing and undercoating, excluding tire recapping or grooving, collision work or painting. An automobile maintenance or service establishment may also sell gasoline, but is distinct from an automobile service station. So that is what is approved today for the operations within the buildings that are currently on the site.
That's right, but about collisions, can you read that section?
Sure. So basically it was saying these are the things that are allowed.
Right.
However, it explicitly excludes tire recapping and any major mechanical repairs, collision work, or painting.
Okay, I didn't hear that first part.
So that's what can be conducted in that front building today, just as Lakeshore Tire and Auto was conducting it in the past.
This is an old definition.
It's an old ordinance.
Distributors, I don't think they have distributors anymore, do they?
This is an important distinction because at the last meeting, the applicant explained, if I understood correctly, that the business model is that you buy cars that have significant damage, you bring them into your facility, you disassemble them, the damaged areas, you then ship out those damaged areas to a facility offsite where the panels are repaired and painted, and then you bring them back and you final assemble in your facility. So I guess the question that I'm asking is, I understand that as a business model, but does that correlate with our understanding of what's allowed in C2 as it's written in this case?
You're asking me if that would qualify as minor or major automotive repair? Typically, anything involving body work or frame panel replacements is considered major automotive repair.
And just to further clarify, you said you're not going to do any actual bending or beating out of the panels or painting or any bonding work on site. You were shipping them off site.
Correct, no frame machine, no frame straightening, no paint work, no bondo work. But panel removal and replacement, yes.
So does that change your view, or is that still, does that still describe major automotive repair or minor automotive repair?
So just the removal of, say, a fender could be considered minor because it just involves, detaching the fastenings. But I think if there's any cutting involved in order to replace a component, that is major automotive repair. So it's kind of hard now because cars are plastic now, and this was written at a time when all cars were metal, right? It doesn't really consider the distinction between those two, but I think it could be conducted in a way that is suitable for minor, but you'd have to put a condition on it stating exactly what it is.
So if I could ask the applicant, have you seen the pictures, the photographs?
No.
Do we have a copy that we could provide?
The one that I'm concerned about is number 5, which shows a vehicle in pretty bad shape.
Right, so we were wondering if you could explain those pictures and how that would either conform with minor repair work or it doesn't.
Which picture are you looking at?
Look at the pictures number 5 and 6.
And 8.
And 8. Yeah.
And 9.
Page 5? Page 8, this one here?
That one? Is that the one you're looking at?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see all the, you know, all those pages, 5, 6.
Five
Yeah, let's start with
Yeah,
5,
yeah.
page 5. Okay, the upper picture is of a vehicle that's in the facility right now. What they don't show you is the other bay next to it. So there is a vehicle that, this one here on the right, that they show you that the whole front end is off of. All the parts are being transferred to the other vehicle. Okay, there's no paint work, no frame straightening, no body, you know, the car's not hit. This car, all the parts are being removed and put on a different vehicle. The one underneath it needs a headlight. Is that what we're looking at? It's missing a headlight. Next page. This vehicle here needs 2 doors. I'm holding it at my facility till I have I have an appointment at another shop. Once they have opening, they're gonna tell me bring it. But these doors I can replace if I wanted to. But I don't have the room in the front bay because it's only 2 bays that I'm leaving it here. And it's blocked in with that box truck in the rear. And it's also blocked in with this blue tow truck in the front, so nobody can see it that's driving by. That's what Dan Atkins told me to do, you know, just so there's no eyesore of these hit cars until I get the approval. So that's why that vehicle's in there with 2 damaged doors that can be removed and replaced.
Okay, I think that's where we're trying to reconcile, you know, major repair and minor repair, because you look
Sure.
at the damage, it looks like major repair, right?
Not
You're saying
necessarily.
but the replacement aspect of it is only a minor repair, and that's where we're having the difficulty. We see what
Correct.
looks like major collision, and we're being told that it's really a minor repair.
I understand, but these parts are only being removed and replaced. They're not being painted, they're not being, you know, I'm not pulling a frame or anything. These are, you can see, you see these doors, they're just dinged in. These can be fully taken off with the 4 bolts off the door hinges and removed and a new door put on, and it'll close fine. That I
You're not
assure
doing
you.
any banging or pounding out or anything of that?
No, no, not at all. I don't even have a frame machine at the facility. Again, the front building is only, the garage is 700 square feet. Most of the people here, if they have a 2-car garage in their home or 2.5-car garage, it's probably larger than the garage that I'm working out of, believe it or not.
So the car wash is gonna be used for what again?
There's only 2 bays in the front. Again, they're very small and tight. The rear building is proposed to be demolished and rebuilt with 4 wider, you know, open bays, 4 better bays.
The building will be torn down?
Completely torn down and rebuilt, yes.
So is all of this contingent upon being able to sell cars? If you're not able to sell cars, you're not gonna continue to do any of this?
Correct. I told Laura at the time that the dealer portion of it is more important than the auto repair portion of it.
And why is that?
Because I can't earn a living off the auto repair. I mean, I've been there for 2 years. I have my open sign on and I don't have any customers coming in, so. I can sell probably 1 car, 2 cars and afford to live. You know, but as far as auto repair, I don't think so.
So, Nani, I have a question. Is this a code enforcement issue? Since it's a permitted use to have the minor repair on the site, this looks like major repair. Is this a code enforcement issue?
Yeah, we've had numerous court enforcement reports for this, yeah. And, you know, as I said, it's hard to read an ordinance where it was written for metal cars, but when looking at those types of services, I also consider those more of a major automotive repair.
You know, and again, I have a problem like I had earlier, and this is, and Bill Pratt, when he was on the commission, was a big proponent of this, it's a special land use, but where is the statement? What is it that we would be approving?
So you would be approving
But there's
minor-
our statement. Is there a paragraph or 2 that states what is it?
You mean from the applicant or from our
Yeah,
department?
no, from the applicant.
Oh, so the materials you've been provided, you mean you want a written statement from the applicant?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be on the site plan.
Right.
Special land use was whatever they were proposing, was right on the site plan. And we had a copy of it so that we could say yes, no, or change this or something, and it was from the applicant.
Let me see if it's on the current proposed site plan.
It
One
it
moment.
often would say the hours of operation, certain, restrictions on when they could turn on the lights, turn off the parking lights and all that.
So I believe that we do have that on the proposed concept plan. Let me just check for that note. So yeah, the proposed note on the concept plan's been available online for the past couple months. Says Business Group Mercantile M, which is a code that refers to the actual building class of the building, for used car sales, room retail, and automotive repair. So we would want to, of course, add a note, if it was approved, that that is minor automotive repair.
And then you would refer back to the ordinance for the definition of minor.
Yes.
But doesn't he already have the right to do minor auto repair?
Yes.
So
Only
why is
within the extent of the front building. So he's asking to be able
Gotcha.
to
'Cause
rebuild
it's
the
expanding
rear.
it to a greater, say, square footage of.
Yes, so that's why it's back before you as a special land use today.
And the sale of
The sale
cars.
of cars.
And the sale of cars would be a separate, special land use on the site. They're two separate uses. So it's also, worth considering today what could still happen on the site if you denied the special land uses for this, right? It could still be used for minor automotive repair in that front building. And the trees that were taken down would have to be replaced, but it wouldn't have to be improved to current code standards. They could still operate the site in the condition it is.
Because it's a or an existing
Yeah,
use.
because it's an existing property.
So could that special land use include the stipulation that if that building is demolished and he's going to that it would be rebuilt within a certain time frame?
Special land use, so you mean shorter than the time frame that he would have to do it if he was getting a regular site plan? Because if you
Well,
get
it's a special land use.
Yeah, so a special land use, you have 1 year within its approval to apply for site plan. And then within site plan approval, you have 1 year to apply for your building permits. So you're saying you are thinking about shortening the time period for site plan approval or for the building permits?
I think one of my concerns is that the building would be demolished, and then would he really, what if he doesn't rebuild it?
So
Because we're going to do this, he's here because he's going to demolish the building
And rebuild it.
and rebuild
yes.
it.
So if his site plan indicated that he was going to demolish the building and then it was never rebuilt,
Right.
then we would take an enforcement action on non-compliance with the site plan. Either, keeping the bond that was paid for those development activities or forcing the completion of it. Just as we would with anyone who is doing a site plan, right? So if the site plan process were, say, completely, abandoned for this site, and it was just, all right, we're gonna keep it as what it is, which is a tiny repair operation, then there's still the option to apply for a demo permit for that building. But he would never be able to rebuild it, right? Because he didn't go through the site plan process. So what the site plan process does is says, all right, you have to hold off on the demolition until you finish this process, so we have a guarantee that something will replace it. Right, that's the same reason we don't let people cut down trees until they finish their site plan, or don't let someone pull a utility permit until they finish their site plan.
And what kind of code violations have been completed on this particular site?
I don't know which ones have been completed, unlike the actual tickets.
Yeah, right.
That
What
are
were they
written.
for?
But they've been about the keeping of dismantled vehicles and the noise and dust of the site.
Noise?
Just from vehicles. But again, all of our code enforcement actions are summarized on our online portal. They're available to the public as well. If anyone wants to go on Plymouth Township BSNA, you can poke through them all yourself.
Where are they again on the website?
Yeah, it's called BSNA. It's our property tracking system.
okay.
So it's abbreviation BS and A. And every single property in the township that has a parcel ID has all the records about it attached to that system. So the size of the property, the history of the sale of the property, every building permit that's been pulled, well, at least since like the 2000s, we don't have the ones from the 70s, is all documented on that website.
Is it possible to make a motion, but have one of the criteria that all code enforcement issues are resolved?
Yes.
May I speak? I'm sorry.
Sure, yes.
I don't believe there's any code enforcement violations. You can go and put the address, yeah, and you'll see. And as far as noise violations, I've never heard of a noise violation. I'm barely ever there, so I don't know how there will be noise violations there. As far as the dismantled vehicles, I haven't had any on site for over a month. This is what you see is recent, but over a month or two, there hasn't been any dismantled vehicles left outside at all. Maybe in 2 months or 3 months, to be honest. You're more than welcome to speak to Dan Atkins, or I don't know if Nani knows, but Dan Atkins would be the one that would know, and you can ask him if he's had any issues in the past couple of months. But I don't know of any open violations or ordinance issues.
Yep, so there you can see the one that was open from April to June. And then we have also, Dan has talked to Mo multiple times, and Dan, if something comes up, they have a relationship where Dan basically just calls them and says, hey, you gotta fix it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not there to cause a problem, so if he calls me, if the neighbors have an issue, I resolve it right away. I'm not there to, make an issue or a problem. But again, I don't know of any violations.
Thank you. So if you are granted the special land use, do you still expect to have vehicles that look like this on your
Yes.
property?
Yes, the vehicles I buy are going to be insurance vehicles, so they will be distressed in some way or another. So, I can't go buy a completed vehicle off the streets. You're not going to make money like that. In order to make money, you have to buy a vehicle that has some issues, fix it, and then resell it. And as the township, as you guys suggested last time also, these vehicles are going to be parked. Most of the people driving by are not even going to know it's a used car dealer. There's not going to be any signs or banners in these vehicles. Most of the people that are going to come look at these vehicles are going to be from, online, from advertisements, and they're going to come look for that one certain vehicle they're coming for, if they come. So as far as people coming all hours of the night to walk through, I don't believe that's going to be an issue. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot less traffic than a restaurant, a bank, a medical office, a pharmacy, or something like that. People are not waiting in line to get their car serviced or to buy a vehicle. That's my perspective. I don't know what other people's perspective is, but that's what I believe.
And do you have any plans to erect a different sign than what you have already?
I didn't get to the sign portion yet, but I believe when the front building, I didn't do anything with signage because I'm going to re-brick the front building, and the rear building is going to be rebuilt too. So the only thing that's going to be for signage is going to say the business name on the building and auto repair and sales. It's not going to be like 100 signs that says, transmissions, oil change, or whatever. No, it's just going to be like that, like the name of the business, like what you see on the screen now.
So the signage would be controlled through a review of the site plan, because that's when we would have an opportunity to look at it and approve the sign. But if he tore that building down and didn't rebuild it, then if he changed the sign, it would be approved by the building department, correct?
Yes, because it's not in the ARC corridor, so it's administrative.
So just to restate what I think I heard you say, so your basic business model is that you buy vehicles that have issues, you fix them up, and you sell them.
Correct. And another thing, I'm sorry, I know they keep saying the building looks worse over the years. I don't know how. I replaced every window and all the doors on the building. It still looks horrible because the brick is not done and the siding on the top is not done, but I believe it looks better than it ever did, to be honest. That's just a small step I did because I couldn't do any of the brickwork without the building department's approval.
I'm still concerned about this statement of use that we would be approving, but what's your comfort level then as a professional planner?
So if you were to approve minor automotive, automobile commercial garage, which is what we call it in our ordinance, also called routine maintenance and minor repair, I would, for example, say special land use approval for automobile commercial garage, including the replacement of exterior panels, subject to the fact that it does not in any way constitute the items defined under major repair. So that way you're specifically defining it as the replacement of panels and excluding the general repair, refinishing, or rebuilding of those panels. And again, it's about exterior panels, not engine blocks or those other sorts of things that clearly define major automotive repair. So that's what I would say, but it is up to the commission whether that replacement you feel does constitute major automotive repair.
I think we have to make sure that when these kinds of applications come in, that use statement come along with it, because sometimes we don't have the site plan, of course, so, we're just sort of, flying by,
Yeah, like what are
whatever
we
pops in our
approving?
mind at the time. Comments, Ms. N, or still mulling it over?
We got a site plan back in October, I think, and it does call out certain things. There's a berm along the southern border with trees, looks like probably every 35 feet. And then along the northeast corner, where all those trees that are shown in this image are all gone now. And that northeast boundary would have what looks like a 20-foot easement with trees. And we said last time that the lot behind what shows here is the red building, so the back part of it would be gravel, other than the berms. And that's where if I understood correctly, that's where your cars that are dismantled would be stored.
Correct. Any vehicle waiting repair will be back there.
The plan shows a refacing of the building in the front, although it looks like the windows and the garage door are retained, which quite frankly aren't in the greatest condition. And then it shows basically the building that's now the red there is basically an all-new building with brick, some type of brick veneer, windows, 4 garage doors, and then 1 door and small windows on the left. So we do have, somewhere here, we have more detail on what the proposal is, but I don't feel like the homeowners have been given any detail that they can go back and look at and try to see if this in any way addresses the concerns they have. So at the very least, in my view, if we write a paragraph on special land use, in this particular case, we need to spell out every one of these stipulations. I know that probably goes way beyond what we normally do, but the issue here, I actually, folks, I was on the zoning appeals board, and I was on it when this Gateways, if I recall right, this was about 5 years ago, Gateways was partially finished, and then it kind of stopped in probably when the recession in 2008. And then a different builder came in, and he finished the first phase, and then he built this second phase that backs up to M14. And this development now is a thing of beauty. And it was not that way 5 years ago. It was a troubled situation. So what I want to see is that we, continue the progress that if you go back in there, it's a very nice development now. It wasn't that way 5 years ago. But I'm also looking at this and saying, this is in my view, one of the ugliest sites in Plymouth Township right now. And so what can we do to make it presentable, make it much better than it is right now? And if the applicant did everything that's on this site plan and actually carried through, it would be a significant improvement over what we have right now. I can't say that it would fundamentally change the business model and address some of the business concerns you have, but I think it would, there's no doubt in my mind, it would be a significant improvement over what we have right now. If we don't do anything, the situation can stay just the way it is right now, I suspect. Or we could find some other type of C2 commercial development, including a restaurant with alcohol service as an example. So, it's a really tough decision. And I think one of my concerns is that in the year or so I've been watching this, I haven't really seen any improvement in the existing site. I would have hoped that we would have seen a little bit of more care and love in it. On the other hand, I understand your point of view. You don't want to invest any more money until you know what you're approved to be able to do. So in my mind, it's a very difficult situation.
Well said.
Summarized it very well.
I'm sorry?
I think you summarized it very well.
Well said.
Okay, we normally don't take comments, but come forward, because the meetings are recorded, so you have to be by the mic.
Andre, there we go again. I should mention, I've been working for one of the big three as an engineering manager for 11 years now, so I know a thing or two about automotive. The definitions that I saw up there about minor and major, his business plan, no offense, but your business plan is entirely in the business of buying major repairing vehicles and then selling them. Minor repair is what we know very well. You drive your car in the morning, you get an oil change, you get your tires swapped, you get a belt replaced, minor repair, maintenance of automobiles. What he's doing is major repair. And if you read the second paragraph, the major repair paragraph, it actually talks about replacing panels. So to me, this is a very fundamental issue with the fact that what he's requesting to do does not fit.
Okay, thank you. I think that's why we have to be very specific as to what we're approving.
I mean, another option available to you is to simply approve minor automotive repair with no conditions for panels, right? Minor automotive repair and used car sales.
And then there'd be the risk of violating the ordinance or the use if he did do those things.
Mm-hmm.
With no plan to improve, the trees and the rest of it?
I mean, with the plan, but I guess the question at hand also is, if the site were approved for strictly the way minor automotive repair is defined today, plus used car sales, would the applicant be interested in continuing? If he was not allowed to, say, replace those panels, right? That's the question as well.
May I? I'm sorry, I just want,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
clear
sure.
something up, I'm sorry. So I don't want to seem like a bad guy here at all, but I'd rather be honest. So under my understanding from what Dan Atkins had told me, any distressed vehicle, whether I own it or not, as long as it's in an enclosed building, it's fine. So I don't want to sit here and say, okay, you can approve it this way. At the end of the day, if it's in the building, then I can't get a violation. I just want to be clear, I'm sorry. I don't want to be, I'd rather be honest up front. So my understanding is if it's distressed and it's in the building, it's fine anyway. And then if it's my own vehicle, not a person's vehicle, public person's vehicle, then I have the understanding that I can also replace the panel as well. I'd rather do it the right way and seek the proper, approval and do it the right way. So
Yeah, that's where the ordinance is, there's an interpretation gap. is the repair of these vehicles, if he owns the title, is this raw material in a process? Or is the fact that you're not repairing it, a vehicle that is owned by somebody else is what is meant by major repair? You follow what I'm saying?
And I apologize that the township attorney is not here to help you
Yeah.
weigh in on that tonight, but if you'd like him to provide feedback, we can request it.
But as you're repairing the car, when you buy it, it doesn't go in your name, correct? It
Not my personal name, but in my business name.
does go into the business.
Yes.
So if you were refinishing furniture, it's like buying furniture, refinishing it, and turning around and selling it.
And to clarify, the reference to the internal operations, which he is correct, is a condition in the C2 district that says that for all automobile commercial garages, operations of the commercial garage shall be conducted entirely within the building except for the storage of repaired and wrecked cars. That's the statement in the C2 district.
I think we all have to be on the same page as to what that definition is, and it may require a legal determination from.
Yeah,
You might be right.
I hate to postpone this
No, I don't.
again,
I
but
do too.
there are too many outstanding questions.
What it comes down to is if what he wants to do is a minor repair. It, right? When I look at a junked car like this, I
Right
don't
now,
think
that
of
would-
minor repairs,
right.
but if that's what the ordinance says, that it's for our definitions, then what can we?
No, I also spent 35 years in the auto industry working for one of the big three, and cars are so much more complicated than they appear on the surface. And I just, the idea that you could take a car in that condition and change it into a sellable car, and just be able to disassemble the parts, ship them off, bring them back, and put them together, have them fit. I struggle with that, quite frankly. I'm sure I don't know the business as well as you do, but I'm just it's always, with cars, it's always so much more complicated than it looks on the surface.
But you follow that business model you have another location, you said at an earlier.
My
meeting.
family has another location, yes.
Yeah, and this is the model they follow?
Correct.
Tough one.
It is.
I'd like to see the site improved.
What about this hours of operation? We didn't even get to that discussion.
So those are on page 4, the revised ones provided to you.
Under her
Like
recommendations.
Like Tim said, I mean, the idea of him doing anything sounds like an improvement, and his property needs to be improved, right? And so that's the dilemma. We want to help you improve it. But we're having this issue with major and minor that conflicts with the ordinance and with what it appears you will be doing. So how do we reconcile that? Or can it be reconciled?
We all have this image in our heads of a used car lot that may or may not be accurate.
And what minor auto repair is.
Well, do you think we should postpone this and seek some legal advice as to the definitions that we're in a quandary about?
So let me ask the applicant, what would happen if the township attorney came back and said that what your model is, what you're actually doing, like based on these pictures, would not comply with the ordinance in terms of being minor repair. Well, how would that affect you?
I really don't know, but I don't believe that's the answer he's gonna come back with, he or she.
And maybe you might be right, but if,
Well, from my understanding of the ordinance, either way, if I build that, a barrier wall between me and wherever damaged vehicles are, then the damaged vehicles can be on the property regardless of the fact, even with a minor auto repair facility without a used car sales.
they're right.
So vehicles can be held that are in association with the minor automotive repair, but major automotive is not allowed in the C2 district.
Yeah, so the vehicles will still be there regardless. I mean, again, I'd rather be upfront and honest about.
Yeah, I hear you.
So does the vehicle have to be plated, or can it just be sitting there for an unknown period of time?
It does have to be like scheduled for either it has been repaired or is going to be repaired, right? It's not just a vehicle that's decommissioned sitting on the lot. And the area that has the vehicles has to be screened on all sides, so from neighboring properties and from the rights of way.
The question that runs through my mind at this point is, so you're gonna have car A that's wrecked and you intend to fix it.
Okay.
You're gonna bring car B onto your property and take those two doors off and
No,
switch it over.
Not always. I mean, you see
Well,
that.
not always, but
You
some-
see that
you
particular
may
example right
sometimes.
now.
You may sometimes, though.
Yeah, you see that particular example right now when I told you that Jeep, there's another one next to it? Yeah, but that's because buying the parts would have exceeded, the parts cost more than the vehicle. So I was forced to buy a second vehicle for that. But generally, like the white vehicle that you seen with the two doors hit, the doors are $100 a piece. You're not gonna buy a complete car for two doors. So 99% of the vehicles, you buy the parts independently. Very rarely do you buy a whole car for it.
What about the car that you have on the back of the flatbed?
That was 4 months ago. That's been gone.
How long that's sitting on the property?
That's probably 1 week the car was on the flatbed. The flatbed stayed on the property probably 3 weeks to a month.
So on this, it was a Jeep, I think, so you bought a Jeep and you bought a second one for the parts.
Correct.
So once you sort of cannibalize the second one to save the first one, what happens to the remains of the second one? What kind
I
of
take
vehicle
it
comes
down the
in?
road to GLR in Livonia. They're a scrapyard.
Is that a flatbed truck takes it, or?
Yeah, I take it by a flatbed truck.
And one other question, at any point, are you removing a component of a radiator or the engine in your repairs?
Radiators?
Or the engine?
We remove radiators, yes. Engines?
So removing or repairing radiators is considered major automotive repair.
Well, we don't rebuild the radiator. We remove and replace it.
Repair or any removal of a radiator is defined as major automotive repair in our ordinance.
Then we're gonna have to seek some type of approval for that, because a lot of vehicles, any auto repair shop you go to can replace your radiator for you.
That's by definition, major automotive repair under our ordinance.
Yeah, I believe, as he said, that maybe the ordinance is a little.
It's still the ordinance.
Yeah, no, I understand, but like you said about the distributor, so the radiator issue might be, we'll have to seek a exception, you know what I mean? I'll put it in a statement.
Painting?
No painting.
So we also, as you know, don't do use variances in the township. So there's no way to accommodate both major and minor in a C2 district.
Yeah.
Nanny, can you say that again?
The C2 district does not allow major automotive repair as a special or permitted use. So there's no way to accommodate both on the site. And we don't provide use variances in this township. We have not elected to do so.
So that's a non-starter.
Yeah. And we have to determine whether it's major or minor, because that's gonna determine whether it can be approved at the end of the day. That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like to me.
Does.
Sounds like he just said it's major.
Yeah, and it sounds like that.
Part of it is major.
So if it's major, we couldn't legally grant the special use anyway.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
You might have the cart before the horse.
I'm sorry?
You might have the cart before the horse. You might have to try to get a change in the ordinance if you're gonna, because it sounds like our hands are tied. If this is major repair, we can't grant it. We don't have any latitude, it sounds like.
Well, then there might be, I mean, I don't know what to say, but I'm sure every auto repair facility, even minor, is replacing radiators. Again, I wanted to be honest too.
Yeah, they have to comply by the way it's written. You know, they don't have the discretion to change
No, I
that.
understand.
Yeah.
Or I don't have to replace radiators, I can send that out along with the paintwork, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, I'm sure that there's a lot of places that do.
We can approve it, for minor, but as Dennis was saying, I think
And it's going to be a code enforcement
Tim was saying, that
issue to make sure it's not major.
we have to be specific as to what constitutes the minor repair. And
Might take Kevin to do a,
I think so.
because there may be some case law on it.
I think to be safe, we should have Kevin review it,
I do
Yeah.
too.
because I wouldn't want to make that determination if there is case law or other precedent.
Yeah, there could be.
We have to tread carefully. We want to be fair to,
No, I understand.
you as the property owner, and of course, we're concerned about the neighbors as well.
Sure,
but-
sure.
And it sounds like you want to do it right anyway. so-
I do, of course.
so.
I think it's potentially a two-step process. The first is to have Kevin review the wording, and then if he concludes that this could qualify under minor automotive repair, then I would want to see a very specific proposal with not just the hours of operation, but specifically allowing what kind of repairs, defining what kind of repairs are included, what the changes are to the building and the new building, the size of the berms, the amount of trees on the berms. And I realize that that's in this proposal, but I think in this particular case, given the history of the property, I would want to know that all of those pieces are part of that proposal that we would be asked to then review.
Right, a very specific special use.
Right. So I think what we want to do then is just to postpone it and refer these questions to the township attorney for advice and counsel. And should we do up to 6 months? Of course, it could be quicker than that, but it depends how much time he's going to need to do the research.
Right, and our meetings are
Yeah, they're
not
kinda-
standard coming
yeah,
up.
They're not standard.
The question is, does this particular application, does it meet the definition of major repair or
Right,
minor
right.
repair?
The definition of major and minor. Yeah, that's the question.
Very fact specific too. As everything is.
Right, well, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we postpone application PC 2466 Sarah Fund Automotive for up to 6 months to get an opinion from the township attorney as to whether this use meets the definition in our zoning ordinance of major or minor repair.
Support.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
We'll do it, okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Barberina and supported by Commissioner Berry for postponement for up to 6 months, so the township attorney can provide us advice as to definitions of the use. Did you have a question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming in. Thank you. Okay.
Well, we by definition, by our bylaws, have to end by 10 PM unless we reauthorize, so we'll crank through the rest of it, right?
Is that right?
Yes.
Get through it.
All right, let me know when you're ready to move on.
I need to be in by before 8 tomorrow.
Are
The
there,
early treasury business.
Yeah.
I just dropped off my tax bill,
Thank you.
my check, so. But you don't have to, cash it at 8 AM. It's
Let's see, we gotta test it and make sure.
right.
are there any comments or questions on the monthly planning report?
No? None.
All right.
Absolutely none.
Any comments from the commission?
I have one question.
Okay.
Did anyone go to that event last night with the
I
city?
did.
And how was it?
It was well attended. I think there was 150 to 200 people there.
Was this the one at the cultural center?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost went, but I
Oh.
didn't.
Yeah. And so, it was a man and a woman. I still saved the flyer.
I'm not gonna be able to make it this time.
Doug Griffith was the primary speaker, and he had the 13 ways, and he was really sold, what got me, he was really sold on Plymouth. Because he skipped some of the slides, and he says, you folks don't need to see this slide, because you're already doing this. And he just made a little joke, wondered why Hallmark has not chosen Plymouth to do one of their movies.
They've got a couple movies downtown Plymouth.
Yeah. So a lot of it was, to me, was sort of basic stuff, but I did enjoy his thoughts on beautification, the quality of life that you heard mentioned. So it was not only the traffic things too, but diversity of job opportunities, diversity of housing, which we've heard from our planners several times. So he talked about that. And beautification from the point that if businesses and residential folks kept up their properties, it shows, especially the greenery, because people like that softness and sort of nature-like, that it shows pride in the community, pride in your home or business. So that was kind of basic stuff. He spoke for about an hour and a half. So,
Thank you.
all right, anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9?
I do have one
sorry.
question, sorry.
Yeah.
You had all mentioned the possibility of adding an extra meeting that is master plan specific in
Yes.
January, and I wanted to get your availability for that.
I have no idea.
Well,
So,
when would you do, are you ready to go right away, or?
just in general, we would still hold it on a Wednesday, as we normally do. And if we're looking at the planning commission's schedule for the upcoming year, which I'm about to pull up, sorry, one moment. So if we're looking at the 2024 calendar, your planned meeting is for January 17th. And I wanted to get your availability for the week before that and the week after that, just to know a couple options. So does anyone have an immediate conflict that comes to mind on the?
Yeah, one of those Wednesdays I've got to ask the treasurer.
Okay, the 10th or the 24th.
I don't know yet, I've got to.
Okay.
Can you email us?
Yeah.
Email us.
I prefer to not do it the night after a board of trustees meeting. Those are 2 long nights in a row.
That's fair. So the board of trustees is the 23rd, right? Okay, got it. So yes, we'll send out an email tomorrow. I'll ask Laura to just think about it and look at your calendars when you get home so that we can find a date that works for everybody. And it might be the last Wednesday, just think about all the Wednesdays.
So you're going to give us like 2 or 3 dates, and then we can, amongst,
Yeah, but I wanted to mention that still is on the radar for January.
okay.
Yeah, and the other thing in January is going to be the annual planning program, which summarizes all the actions from the past year. So be prepared to address that one as well. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to say, if you will let me have a minute, is that you guys have faced a lot of really, really challenging applications this year. And I admire your dedication in volunteering to help your community and help advance the vision of the residents in the master plan. And I know it's been a really hard year. You've had a lot of special meetings, a lot of extra meetings, a lot of really long meetings, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And thank you for the treats.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and so
You're
invite
sugaring
people
us up now before we go, right?
I do have just one more comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Next month is also our election of officers. So if anyone is interested in being, an officer, please keep it in mind, because we have that election and nominations at our next meeting. So if anyone is interested in being
Let
vice
Laura
chair, and
know.
we're just gonna do Jim Barry, I think, since he's talking.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we're gonna elect you as vice chair. Next month is our election of officers.
They
First
elected me
meeting of-
secretary when I wasn't here last year, in January.
So just if anyone is interested in any of the positions, just so that we're all on the same page, or if you have any questions about any of them, feel free to ask.
All right,
Just wanted to put that
anything
out
else?
there.
Any other comments from anybody? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn at 9:39?
So moved. I move we adjourn at 9:39.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina, supported by Commissioner Boyd to adjourn the meeting at 9:39. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, my standard